Hello again. I've had a few ideas for content for GD players over the past year or so, but more so than ever I've been quickly realizing that as more and more content gets added to the game, it becomes harder and harder to find a sense of direction within it. I've been brainstorming ways to help the community with this, and the best place to start is with a cohesive list of what I'm going to call milestone levels. These are all levels that are very memorable for the skill set that they demand, and are intended to be interpreted as an ordered list of goals to work towards. Obviously, you should play other levels outside of those that I'm about to list, and only tackle them when you feel readily equipped to stand a chance against them. Now, with that being said, this video was organized in June of 2020, during Update 2.1, so with 2.2 on the way, it's likely that this list will be outdated someday. None of the levels on this list have camera movements or orbs that revert your direction or anything like that. If you guys have suggestions for 2.2 levels as they are released, or even any 2.1 levels that I may have missed, or beyond that, 2.0, 1.9, 1.8, 1.7, whatever, put them in the comments. I'll pin a list if I have to. With that being said, let's get started. This video will be divided into two parts. This is the beginner section. You have just downloaded the game for the very first time. You get friendly vibes from the big play button in the middle, and are met with over 20 levels made by the developer. Where do you go from here? When is it safe to move to a higher skill bracket? What are the skill brackets? Let's find out. It's no secret at this point that this game is hard. For beginners, even the easiest of levels can be really difficult to focus on. That being said, it's not entirely right to consider all of them milestones. The first 5 official levels of the game can be seen as a tutorial. You probably shouldn't play other levels made by the community until you beat them, as they are intentionally designed to introduce the player to the game properly. Stereo Madness and Back on Track are designed to introduce beginners to the game's most basic features, consecutive jumps, triple spikes, fake-outs, flying, triple spikes, and ultimately the endurance needed to focus on this long of a digital obstacle course. Polargeist introduced the player to orbs, Dryout plays with gravity, base after base is another gravity practice level for when people get mad enough at Dryout to skip it until later, and then the real game starts. Can't Let Go is like that boss battle at the end of the tutorial where you have to use all of the skills you've learned to gracefully slay it. Beating Can't Let Go is the first indication that you've improved to a noteworthy degree since you started playing, which is why it is worth considering as the first milestone. Some would say that Time Machine also deserves to be considered a milestone level. I understand that perspective as it's significantly harder than Jumper, Cycles, and X-Step, but it gets most of its difficulty from excessive use of triple spikes and poor transitions. It's important to beat these 4 levels as they are all introductions to new material. Jumper introduces upside down flying parts as well as really hammering in that instinct of when to jump and when to fall. Time Machine introduces the mirror portal as well as really hammering in that instinct of timing difficult jumps. Cycles introduces the ball as well as really hammering in that instinct of how to read patterns. X-Step introduces gravity pads and doesn't have anything clever attached to its name because it sucks. Clutterfunk, being arguably harder than Theory of Everything, Electroman Adventures, Blast Processing, Geometrical Dominator, and Finger Dash, is the next step up in testing your tenacity and comfort with the game. It introduces the mini portal, but really puts you to work in just about every section. Clutterfunk is a great way to measure how far you've come since Can't Let Go, especially if you've used the other levels to grind your way up to it. Obviously, you're getting into this position where you're more comfortable beating some community levels rated harder and below. And since you're now apt to tackle some more difficult challenges, I've picked 3 harder levels that I personally confide in a lot. We'll call them the 3 wheels, as we are still on our tricycles in the training phase. And these levels are really well-rounded and fun experiences that also serve as accurate time capsules of the respective eras. I've picked one from each prominent era of the game, being 1.9, 2.0, and 2.1, which are just names of updates that divide up the limitations on the community's creativity, and by extension what the community has done with them. I initially wanted to put a pre-1.9 level in here, but contrary to popular belief, the idea of levels being playable wasn't actually conceived until around mid-2.0, and I can't find a prehistoric harder level that doesn't suck. So with that being said, let's take a look at the 3 wheels. Released in early 1.9, Tiny Toons took the community by storm with its playful and colorful simplicity. It popularized the curvature of these little ground spikes here, and is hailed as one of the most memorable non-demons to have ever been made during this update. Not only is it a treat visually, it's very well-rounded in terms of its implementation in game modes, duels, mirror portals, and any gameplay element up to this point that you should reasonably be comfortable with. Released in mid 2.0, Vanilla quickly became a favorite among the masses. While its visuals have dynamic variation in color and style, what really hit home was the fluidity of its gameplay. It implements movement of the player and of the obstacles pretty much flawlessly, and even includes some masterful instances of synchronized repetition that are incredibly satisfying to this day. This level is a breath of fresh air, especially for its time when moving and/or invisible objects often made levels extremely unenjoyable for their players. Vanilla is a pretty long and actually kind of tricky level, especially for beginners, but it's probably the most fun, harder level that the game has to offer. Released sometime in 2.1, Swing was actually pretty forgotten among the public for whatever reason. Ethrak has a really captivating way of making gameplay that flows together really legibly and smoothly, and Swing is what I would consider a capstone example of this. To familiarize new players with some of the more recently implemented gameplay elements, Swing is a really welcoming and enjoyable level, which is really hard to come by in the sea of 2.1 harders. The map packs aren't in any particular order, despite what you may think based on the fact that they are numbered, but Demon Pack 3 is indubitably the easiest of the Demon Packs out there. If I had to pick any one demon from Demon Pack 3 to consider a milestone, it would be the Nightmare by Jax. It's an iconic classic that is a first demon for many, many, many players. That being said, the Lightning Road and Crescendo also offer a valuable experience for new players, and having 2 more demons and 1 more map pack under your belt really can't make you feel any less confident. Impact X is on the easy side of demons, but since it was released in early 2.1, it implements a lot of the newest gameplay elements. You can use that as an opportunity to get a little more comfortable with seeing them in demons. There are other easy 2.1 demons that can also fill that role adequately, and I will mention them later. Impact X is generally reputable for being a fair and forgiving challenge for newer players, so it's best that you handle this one first. Similar to Impact X, Insilico is also a really good easy 2.1 demon that players can use to learn recently implemented gameplay elements, and in terms of difficulty, it is actually probably easier than at least one of the levels you've beaten up to this point. The difference is that it's really long. Insilico is so long. It uses 2 entire drops, including the interlude between them, the intro and the outro. If you discover that you're into that, look into beating Dragon Slayer by Subwoofer around when you're ready to transition from medium to hard demons. Getting comfortable with focusing for long enough to beat a demon this long should really benefit your skill in managing your nerves. Sometimes nerves can't be fixed. Revisit this later on and try to figure out how to get the coins. They're all really elaborate and fun to explore, which can only hone your skills in looking for secrets in other levels. Finally, after getting 6 demons under your belt, you're ready to handle this beast. I consider Electrodynamics to be the most fun official level in the game, but it is considerably difficult and would probably be rated demon by modern standards. Electrodynamics requires a noteworthy degree of skill and control to master, and memory won't save you here. This level is what formally introduces speed portals. Following this list, Electrodynamics would not be the first time you've seen those, but this level is built to introduce the challenges that come with faster speeds, so it will still be a new degree of difficulty for you. I have nothing much to say about this level aside from the fact that it proves that you have the skill to beat easy demons, which means all of your milestones from here on out will be demons. This marks the end of the beginner section. I was initially planning on putting this list all into one video, but I realized that this is inconvenient for both you and me. For one, no one wants to sit through a half-hour video, especially when only half of it is likely to pertain to their skill level. I'm also running out of space on my iPad, and I'm not sure if I could sustain that much footage at one time, so putting a stopping point here is merciful on me as well. In case you hadn't noticed, since I don't have video editing software on my computer, all of this was made on an iPad. I apologize for any discrepancies in audio or video quality that this limitation has caused. Part 2 will be tackling Milestone Demons, and will be suitable for anyone who has completed all of the levels highlighted in this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you when I finish the other half of this list.